Small business owners know cutting costs without cutting quality is tough. How do you trim expenses without hurting your business? Easy. Get Spectrum Business. Call 888-489-2212. Switch to Spectrum Business and you can get the best internet and phone services for half of what you're paying today. Cutting costs can be easy when you get Spectrum Business. Just call 888-489-2212. Restrictions apply. Call for details.
We've all been through some crazy times, and who knows what'll happen next. So, maybe you should prepare for the unexpected. With today's low mortgage rates and rising home values, why not refinance with Owning and pull tens of thousands out in cash? It's quick and easy. Just call 833-2-OWNING or go to owning.com. In minutes, Owning will tell you how much money you may have just sitting in your home's equity. You can then refi, pay off some debts, and put a big chunk of cash in the bank so you're ready for whatever comes next. No sweat. And do it now, while Owning is still offering 30-year fixed refis with rates and APRs in the 2s.
NMLS 2611, licensed by the Department of Financial Protection and Innovation under the California Residential Mortgage Lending Act, subject to credit approval. Call 833-852-6464 for terms and conditions.
Call 833-2-OWNING or owning.com. That's 833-2-OWNING or owning.com.
Daryl, how are you?
Good, Bull. How are you?
Doing okay. You know, Daryl, Kevin Stefanski and Andrew Berry use the term, if you will, smart, tough, accountable a lot. Is that fair to say?
Yep.
And I think, for the most part, they've backed that up with guys that they've added to this roster. And I think it's really notable that Anthony Walker, who we heard from today on the press conference you were part of, and John Johnson, who we heard from last week, not only are they good players, and John Johnson's a really good player. He's a higher level player, I think, overall than Anthony Walker is.
Right.
But they're great team building blocks. They're leaders. They're high character guys. And both of those units kind of needed guys like that in them, don't you think?
Yeah, I'd agree with that. And, you know, Andrew Berry kind of has a profile of player that he's looking for. Same with Kevin Stefanski. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's good that they have that they know exactly the type of player they want to add to the team and mix in. And I think that, you know, Andrew Berry has stuck to his, you know, profile from an economic standpoint, you know, bringing in guys that is still in that sweet spot of their career between 25 and 29 years of age. Not a lot of long-term contracts, but I think part of that is it has to do with the current economics of the NFL. But, you know, they are building this team around the core and kind of making it, you know, in their image. And, you know, it's pretty easy to see the direction they're going and, you know, why they're going in that direction.
Right. Daryl, I would say overall for free agency so far, for me, I'd give the Browns either an A or an A-. The only disappointment is the defensive line. I know they've added a couple of guys in Malik Jackson and Takk McKinley,
right,
but I think it's the only unit that's gone backwards. I think linebacker's better, secondary's better, a lot better, and obviously on offense everything's the same. But the not getting the big time pass rusher is the only thing holding me from an A+. What say you on so far in free agency?
Well, the good news is the draft is coming up.
Sure.
And I think that's, you know, I think that what they've done is basically told us what they're going to do in the draft, at least, you know, with that first pick at 26. And then I really think that they're going to address the need of a pass rusher. I give Berry an A. I actually give him credit. It would have been easy for him to overpay, you know, for Carl Lawson or one of those other, you know, pass rushers, you know, that got paid this offseason. But listen, I think it takes a tremendous amount of discipline to stick to your guns. And that's not to say he wasn't interested in those guys, because he absolutely was, but he had dollars and years in mind that he was willing to sign those guys for. And if it wasn't going to be on his terms, he decided to hold off. And that's very difficult to do, especially when, you know, like Walker was talking about today, this is a team that was, you know, a third or fourth down away potentially from moving on in January and getting a step closer to the Super Bowl. So, impulsively, it would have been easy to go out and get one of those guys. And then everyone would be giving Andrew Berry A pluses and, booking flights to Los Angeles next February. So I think it takes a tremendous amount of discipline as a general manager to not get caught up in those emotions, which he doesn't. He didn't in free agency. He stuck with his plan. He he brought guys in on his terms, so to speak. He still has options. So it's nice when you can clearly see not only the competence, but you can see the vision of what they're trying to accomplish.
Right.
And then you go out there and you not only see the vision bowl, but you're able to watch him execute it. You know what I'm saying? And
sure.
The vision, we heard vision for 20 plus years here in Cleveland, but we never saw the execution.
That's right.
And kind of what I see with Andrew Berry is I see the vision, and at the same time, I'm also seeing the execution.
Agree. I agree with everything you say there, except for something you said in the beginning of that answer. I don't necessarily disagree that you said they're going to draft a pass rusher at 26, and you may turn out to be right. I do believe, though, they have complete flexibility. I don't think they need to be pigeonholed. Yeah, in a perfect world, they'd get a pass rusher at 26. I agree with that. But I think the team is good enough that you're not going to take a pass rusher at that spot if you don't think there's a pass rusher worthy of being drafted in that spot. They could trade up. They could trade down. I think they've got a lot of flexibility, and nothing would surprise me. Andrew Berry has shown you he's not going to draft a pass rusher just because we think they need one, right? Like they could take a linebacker. They could take a corner. They could take a freaking wide receiver, an offensive lineman, a tight end. Anything but quarterback or running back would ultimately not surprise me there.
Yeah, I agree with you. I was just saying, the reason I was saying that is just that's the need, and
you're right.
you hope that the guy is there, right?
Yes, exactly.
I'm a believer that you always take the best player available, regardless of the position, because the best player available should make your team better. And I'm sure that'll be the approach you'll see Berry take come April 29th. But yeah, I agree with you. They could take a myriad of positions at 26, assuming they stay there. But hey, I could see Berry trading up. Hey, I could see him trading out at 26 too.
Yeah.
I mean, there is flexibility, and again, Andrew Berry, with some of the stuff that he's done, he's given himself that flexibility where he's not painted into a corner where you take someone because you have to. Like, that's the worst mistake ever you can make as a GM, is you just sign a guy or take a guy because you absolutely have to, as opposed to going with the guy that's, the best talent or the best player.
Daryl, we've talked about Sheldon Richardson before. Obviously, the Browns haven't cut him. I'm surprised that they haven't done something. Like, obviously, it's not too late. They don't need to just yet. Right. But I'll still be stunned if they pay him his full $13 million this year. Do you think we'll see some news on him eventually?
Yeah, I think it's entirely possible they could restructure him to lower his cap hit and also extend. I think he's played well here. I think that he's been good in the locker room. He's gotten some semblance of normalcy, and he's been able to kind of settle in, which is something he talked about when he got here. He hadn't been able to do, and so I'd be all for them extending him. But yeah, of the moves that they have at their disposal to kind of create some salary cap room, I certainly feel like that is definitely an option that's available, and they don't have to do it right away. But it's something that I could see happening over the course of this off season.
We're talking with Dangerous Darryl Ryder, our Browns beat reporter. I wasn't on Friday, and the Steelers, who I'm really down on, and I think they're going to not be good this year. But I'll give them credit; they were able to bring back Juju Smith-Schuster. That was a good move for them to make. But they've lost a ton of guys on defense, Darryl. Their quarterback, in my opinion, is washed. They have no running game, and their offensive line has to be rebuilt. What do you think of what the Steelers have done this offseason so far?
Agree with everything you said. The problem is I can never count out the Pittsburgh Steelers. I can't.
It's hard.
For whatever reason, they somehow, some way cobble away to stay in contention. But I agree with you 110%. I think that they're falling apart. I think that, time is finally catching up to Ben Roethlisberger, which is a tragedy. I think that I say that tongue in cheek, by the way. They lost a lot of leadership within their locker room this offseason. And it seems like every year I pick them to be the team to demon drop within the division and end up in the cellar, and they never do. And this year they seem to be the poster child for that. I mean, I think that there's a chance the Bengals could potentially finish ahead of them in the division at this point. But again, Mike Tomlin, and somehow, some way, they always find a way to kind of hang in there and be a problem for everyone else in the division. So We'll see. But, no complaints here. And, maybe the Browns can really, with what they did at the end of the season in the playoffs and, maybe going forward here, maybe the worm is turning a little bit in that Browns-Steelers rivalry that for a long time became a one-sided back alley beating, and the Browns were the ones taking all the body blows.
Darryl, last thing. You got the draft they're going forward with it.
Yep.
Goodell's going to be here. I'm telling the fans not to boo him. It's so cheesy when everybody does that. I hope we don't boo. How are they going to, they were talking about,
I'm going to disagree with you.
Oh, come on. It's so cheesy.
You got to keep the tradition alive.
No, I'm not doing this. It's a
like
lame
the NFL draft if Roger Goodell's not getting booed. Come on.
It's a lame tradition.
I know, but still.
But how do we control the crowd to make sure people, because we're finally seeing the light at the end of the tunnel with the vaccines. How do we control the crowds? How are they going to do this? And how many people? I mean, I know we don't know the amount of people, but I'm a little worried about that.
Yeah, I have no idea. I mean, they mentioned they're expecting tens of thousands. Like, this is going to be the biggest, outdoor main event gathering or whatever since the pandemic began. I know in the theater area, very select few people are going to be in that area, close to the stage or in the proximity of the stage or whatever. And there's select fans representing each team, et cetera. They're going to do time ticketing for like NFL Experience, which is, the big theme park that'll be all around First Energy Stadium. Distancing, they didn't want to get into too many specifics when they were asked about vaccine identifications. I mean, I'm holding in my hand my vaccine card that I got this morning. So I think it's going to be a challenge. The good news is it is outdoors, and I firmly believe that, from my view, we're a lot safer outdoors than we are indoors.
Sure, of course.
But yeah, that's they got the Super Bowl. They were able to have the fan experience with the Super Bowl down in Tampa. They're going to use a lot of those protocols here. So it went off without a hitch in Tampa. So I have no reason to believe that it will not be safe, and that fans will still be able to have a good time even with all the precautions in place. And yes, regardless if you're vaccinated or not, everybody attending draft festivities will be required to wear a mask. If you do not have one, they will provide you with one.
As it should be. Darryl, good stuff, buddy. We'll talk to you again soon.
You got it, Paul.
Small business owners know cutting costs without cutting quality is tough. How do you trim expenses without hurting your business? Easy. Get Spectrum Business. Call 888-489-2212. Switch to Spectrum Business and you can get the best internet and phone services for half of what you're paying today. Cutting costs can be easy when you get Spectrum Business. Just call 888-489-2212. Restrictions apply. Call for details.
Hey, Gary, how are things?
Things are great, but I crushed my mortgage payment with owning without even leaving my couch. I got a no closing cost refi at a great low rate, and owning did it all in less than 3 weeks. It was easy, no muss, no fuss.
Be like Gary. Call owning at 855-5-OWNING and crush your mortgage payment with today's 15-year fixed refi at 1.99% rate and APR with no closing costs. None. Zero. Even if you've refinanced recently, call 855-5-OWNING and let us crush your monthly payment even more. That's 855-5-OWNING or log on to owning.com.
NMLS 2611, licensed by the Department of Financial Protection and Innovation under the California Residential Mortgage Lending Act, subject to credit approval. Call 833-852-6464 for terms and conditions.
You can crush it too with a 15-year fixed 1.99% rate in APR with absolutely no closing cost.